Speaking of the right, not the wrong way, I am thrilled to talk to our next guest. We spoke to him a while back. I think it was time.
TD.
He does an amazing job covering the Titans. ESPN NFL Nation reporter for the Titans. You can follow him on Twitter at @TDavenport_NFL. My man, Turron Davenport. What's up, Turron? How you doing, man?
What's going on, man? I hope you guys like the scenery. You know, you're my people, so I had to give you,
this backdrop. This is real too.
Nissan Stadium. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, let me say this, man. This dude here, ever since I've known him, the sharpest dressed ESPN.com writer on the planet.
Look at him. He makes a hoodie look good. Look,
the man's shoelaces even match his outfit, man. Probably matching undergarments and all this.
By the way, that is a professional shot right there.
Got the,
look, what I tell you.
Coordinate. You got to do it.
I'm serious, man. Props. You have the stadium almost centered perfectly behind you.
Yes, I'm impressed.
It's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bro, that's
you know what that's from? You know what that's from? Shooting all those stand-ups by himself. He's become an expert.
You already know. That's it. One man gang.
I used to watch this dude stand out on the field, man, do his stand-ups, knock it out in one take, and then I see how he was dressed, and I go to practice, and I look at me like this. I can't compete. Dude had a different pair of sneakers on every day.
Yeah. Bro, I remember when we first did Breakfast on Broad, and that's when I really, really got tight. And then we started doing a podcast together, me and TD. And I can remember him coming in clean as the board of health, man. I mean, from the bow ties to the vest and everything.
Yeah.
Man.
Hey man, I gotta ask you one quick question. All right, just us boys talking. Okay, we just talking.
All right, just the homies.
Yeah, just the homies, man. Do you have like matching sets, pajamas and stuff? Do you coordinate your pajamas when you go to bed at night?
No, man. You know, I don't match that up. I just look. I'm in the boxes. That's it, man. That's so you're not matching everything up that way.
Oh my God! All right, Turron. Well, man, so many things to get into, and I can't wait to get your take on the Eagles and Jalen Hurts and everything that's going on with them too. But let's start with this Titans team because they are coming off a loss, and the last couple games it hasn't necessarily been peak Derrick Henry in terms of running the ball. What are teams doing a little bit differently, or is it just the ebb and the flow of the season? Sometimes you're not going to be ripping off $150 every single time. What did maybe the Bengals do last week that could be a blueprint for the Eagles?
Yeah, you would like to think that it's just the ebb and flow of the season, but it's a copycat league. 3 weeks ago, the Broncos, what they did, they came here to Nissan Stadium, bare front. They're covering that center guard trio right there, and you got the linebackers stacked behind it. And what they're doing is just filling all the gaps. And when you have the zone blocking scheme, you're not blocking man. Barry, you could speak to this. You're not blocking a man. You're blocking zones and space and gaps. And so when those gaps are being controlled by a guy like a DJ Reader last week against the Bengals, and it allows the linebackers to come in and get free shots, and that's what you're seeing. But then the Bengals specifically, what they did last week, they incorporated the nickel blitz, where they had Mike Hilton, who is underrated as a nickel corner. He's one of the best in my opinion, but he was coming off that edge and he's tackling Derrick Henry behind the line of scrimmage. And Henry's that type of back where he needs to get that momentum going towards the line. And that's what he always does. But when you're getting hit, and a quick stat for you, he was getting hit 0.8 yards after he got the football. And it's just hard for any back. I don't care, Walter Payton, Jim Brown, you name it, they're not going to have success getting hit that quickly.
Yeah, your start and stop is really a problem when you have a guy that big. And they made him start and stop, and that's really how you can stop him. As far as especially with that Navajo front. Navajo, we call it bear front. We call it when you have covered at center and both guards are with big guys. Well, we just got Sue, we got Lindell Joseph, and oh, by the way, we got our rookie coming in, Jordan Davis coming in. I believe he plays. That's a lot of beef up front. Only thing is, excuse me, when I watched Cincinnati and I broke down the film with them, they were bringing that blitzer from the outside. I don't see Gannon as doing that. Do you think that will hamper, their ability to stop the run?
Yeah, it will, because I have to check the stat sheet specifically, but I mean, off the top, I remember like 5 times Mike Hilton tackled Henry behind the line of scrimmage. So, when that's happening, it makes it a lot easier for the other guys to come up and make plays too. But I mean, Hilton, he was getting solo tackles, so that was a big factor. And the Bengals, they actually played Henry better than the Packers did the week before and the Broncos did the week before that. So that was a huge part of it.
Hey, Turron, what do we make on the outside looking in of Tannehill? One game he's throwing like a Hall of Famer. I mean, throwing lasers. Next game it's like inconsistent. He's responsible for the success they've had in a lot of ways, but he's also been the cause of some of their issues offensively as well. So, what do we make of him?
Yeah, I think Tannehill he's the ultimate game manager in my book, and I don't say that from a bad context. I say it from he executes the offense. He goes where he needs to go with the football. He doesn't, at least this year, as opposed to last year, he's not turning the football over. And you ask him to make one or two plays to help you win the game, and that's what he's been doing. And I think really one of the things that I've seen over the last couple of weeks, which coincidentally happened to be his best passing games, he's an arrogant quarterback again. Like he feels like he can fit the ball into places where he probably shouldn't, but he's getting it in there. And then also he's giving his guys a chance to make a play. And I think that's really important. You look at the Bengals game, right? They go play action. It's Treylon Burks one-on-one with a rookie corner out of Nebraska, and he's covered. I mean, statistically, it was 0.5 yards of separation. But Tannehill said, you know what? YOLO. You only live once. And he chucked that thing up there, and Burks went up and got it. And I think that's what you have to see from him. That's what he has to continue to do, because teams are putting the whole city in the box to stop Derrick Henry. So you got those one-on-one matchups on the outside. And, as a receiver, if you're worth your value in it, you're not going to allow a team to go one-on-one. It's me and you, and you know what? It ain't going to be me. That's how you look at it, and that's what's starting to happen with Treylon Burks.
Hey, Turron, we were talking about this, I think it was yesterday. Maybe they're not at the most accomplished group. Man, there's some size at that receiver position. Yeah. They got some big dudes, man.
Yeah.
I'm looking at 6'2", 6'3", and we know how big Burks is, et cetera. How much of an advantage is that? And how much are those guys starting to come in their own a little bit? We know there's the veteran there with Woods, but the younger guys.
Yeah, I think, when you look at Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, you look at Cody Hollister, these are our bigger receivers. Westbrook-Ikhine specifically, he's a guy that they like to use across the middle, on digs and those type of intermediate routes. I don't think they're really a threat, though. Robert Woods is starting to come into his own. That you see the timing between Tannehill and Woods, especially on third downs, that's coming into play. But the main factor, in my opinion, is Burks. He's a bigger receiver, and he has that what they call combat catch ability, where he's going to make those contested catches. So that's the big one. But another guy that you have to watch out for is Chig Okonkwo, the tight end out of Maryland. He's a big play receiver, and he's a guy. He's averaging over 20 yards a catch.
Quick too fast.
Yeah, what are we to make of Jeffrey Simmons' status right now? They have a listed as questionable. Two questions in one. Will he play, number one, and what makes him so effective for a dude that's 6'4", 305 coming off the edge the way he does?
Yeah. Simmons is going to play. Rest assured, he's going to play.
That's a bad
he didn't
man.
practice. Yeah, he is a bad man. He didn't practice yesterday, but he'll probably do some stuff today. We'll see in a half hour or so. But I think when you look at Simmons, the thing that makes him so good, and I told him, I remember the first time I met him, I said, man, you remind me of Fletcher Cox, man, because that ability that he has to be so big, but also so quick and swift on his feet, and one of the things I remember 2016, we're going to go back. The Steelers came to Philly, and Antonio Brown caught a screen, and he was on this side of the field. He ran to this side. You know who tackled him? Fletcher Cox.
Yeah.
Oh,
right. You go back to week 4 this year against the Commanders. Terry McLaurin, he caught a pass. He's 25 yards down the field. You know who caught him? Jeffrey Simmons. So for me, it's that hustle that these guys have. It's also the quickness, and that dude is brutally strong. I watched him fold Quentin Nelson up. That's the guard everybody talks highly of. he folded them up like a church banquet chair, man. And and he does that consistently. So I love to see that. So it's the strength, the power, the speed, all of that, and then the effort too.
Well, he's built differently. He's got big hips, wide hips. I mean, my mom used to call him, childbearing hips. Well, he's got them type of hips. You know what I'm saying? Big hips. He got a low center, grab big hips, so he can definitely push guys off the ball. But when you look at that, those guys are great against stopping a Bud Dupree. They get upfield, they get penetration. They're known to stop the run, but they kind of lack in the secondary. They're ranked 29th as far as passing in the secondary. We do have some pretty good receivers. And one guy in particular, your boy, is going to come back, and he wants to make sure that he avenges his unceremoniously departure from the Titans organization.
Yeah, young AJ, man, he wants to get off, and I'm sure that Sirianni and the crew, they're going to do some things to get him open. And you're right, the secondary, it does leave some to be desired. You got third-year corner Christian Fulton, who is, he shows signs of being a lockdown guy, but then, you'll see him give up a 29-yard pass to T. Higgins like he did last week, or a touchdown to Christian Watson the week before. So it's almost like sometimes he gets bored out there, and that's something he has to fix. You look at Roger McCreary, a very feisty. I told him at the combine, I said, man, we were on the same team in practice. We'll fight every day. Because he's one of those type of corners that's always in your pocket, always just doing stuff that you just hate as a receiver. So you got him, but I don't think they match up well against A.J. Brown. And then, Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins, the speed and vertical ability that they have, it's going to be a tough day. Kevin Byard is really going to have to be over top and help out. And I think really, it's all about stopping A.J. from getting those yards after the catch.
Turron, how about, I know you're keeping a close eye on the Eagles running attack and what they've been able to do. The Titans coming here is a really good team against the run. It's push comes to shove. Who do you think has the advantage here? And could the Eagles be able to be maybe not quite as successful as they were last week, but successful on the ground against a team that's the third best in the league against the run?
Yeah, I think the Eagles do have the advantage, and it's all because of Jalen Hurts, man. What he's able to do, on designed runs, you look at, how they go empty and go quarterback draw, and the things that they do to open up the middle of the field with the receivers running out breaking routes. He's a perfect fit for what they want to do on offense, and then even when it's not a design run, right? They're rushing the passer, and he likes to step up in the pocket, have guys go by him, and then he finds, those lanes to run. And it's 3rd and 13 and everything is covered really well, but he scoops 14 yards and steps out of bounds. The next thing you know, it's like, we did everything right. He got the first down and we didn't even get to hit him, and that's the thing that's frustrating for a defense. So I definitely think that the advantage is for the Eagles. And you could go back, you look at the Bengals game, what Joe Burrow was able to do as far as scrambling to run, but also scrambling to pass. And then in addition to that, you look at the Chiefs game, they went ahead. They scored the go-ahead touchdown of Patrick Mahomes scrambling. Contain wasn't there on the outside, and he was able to break that, and he scored the go-ahead touchdown.
How does this team gravitate around the head coach? Is he highly respected?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. A huge amount of respect that everybody has for Mike Vrabel. And it's the thing is with him, one of the things he said, we were talking about A.J. Brown when he had he came out and said that, he had considered, committing suicide. And one of the things that Coach Vrabel said was, it's important in this building that when we ask you how you're doing, we do it authentically and we sit there and we listen. So when you're making those authentic, emotional deposits, it really sets in. And he's a guy that remembers details. He met one of my daughters 3 years ago, and he's still, hey, man, how's your daughter, Devin? You know what I mean? Those type of things are reason why players will want to play for him. And then just the fact that he always has them prepared. You look at the small margins where they try to be able to gain victories, and that's something that, players are all about how you going to make me better, how you going to put me in a position to win, and he does that.
Looking at the defensive side of the ball, man, is Archie playing?
Probably not. Yeah, he's probably not playing, and that's a hurtful thing for that front.
Huge,
we talk about Simmons, but I think he's probably been the most consistent player for them. over the last year and a half. And then you look at some of the things, the twists and stunts and things they do up front. You know, a lot of times he's that trigger guy where he shoots and they loop around him. And it's funny because he's supposed to be the sacrificial lamb, you know, on that game. But here it is, he'll shoot and he's blowing up the tackle. So he's getting back there too, in addition to Mario Edwards or Dupree or whoever is looping inside. So it's going to be tough not having him for them. But, you know, they're just going to have to figure it out.
Turron, how about the Jim Schwartz influence? You know, we talk about that a lot here, but is there do we make too much of that? I mean, I know he knows some of these players. There's been turnover for sure since he's been here, but is that a factor in your estimation?
As far as like familiarity with the guys,
and maybe just tendencies for this guy, you know, and he might know some guys on the offensive side too, the offensive line, what they like to do, what their weaknesses are. For people who don't know, Jim's a senior defensive consultant with the Titans.
Right. Yeah, I mean, familiarity is good, but you know, like I can know what Fletcher Cox wants to do. It's gonna be tough to stop it. You know what I mean? I can know, you know, that they're gonna pull Kelsey on certain, you know, runs and things like that, but you still got to stop it. So I think it's always good to have a little bit of familiarity, but you still, you know, you have to go out and execute. So I don't really think that he'll have much of an influence as far as his familiarity with the Eagles, but I will say he's had a big influence with the guys in Nashville. And just as far as like they used to be very multiple with their front, a lot of 3-4 looks, you know, they'll do that, but a lot of times you're seeing 4 and 5 guys hand in the dirt, and that's, you know, the Jim Schwartz influence.
So what do the Titans have to do if they're going to have a chance to win in Philadelphia?
I think really it's that first drive is monumental. You know what I mean? Whether it's on offense or defense. If they're on defense, they got to get a 3 and out or a stop. And then they have to come back, and it's got to be a healthy dose of Derrick Henry. You're going to have to feed him. And I always say this Titans team, they're like, you know, back in the day when you had your kids, you had to pack and play, right? Like the little, you pack it up and you go, you set it up, and you could, it was always travel friendly. Their form of play is travel friendly because they stop the run and they run the football well. And I think that's always going to be able to put them in a hostile situation and take the crowd out of the game. And that's what you have to do. And I watched them do that in New England in the playoff game and then in Baltimore the week after. And it was all Derrick Henry and the defense. So that's what they have to do. They have to get Derrick Henry going, play action off of it, you know, catch the secondary sleeping. You got Reed Blankenship as opposed to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Maybe, you know, they could be a blow up in coverage and a guy is open down the field and you take advantage of it.
Yeah, I got news for you. Eagles not a very good tackling defense.
Yeah, I mean, that's never good when you're facing Derrick Henry. I'll tell you that much.
Let me ask you this. Give me their mindset. You know, give me what they're thinking at a locker room. Are they the team that you saw last year that won 12 games last year? Or are they this team that, you know, that 7-win team that they are right now? What type of mindset are they in there?
Yeah, they're the team that won 12 games last year. But the thing is, I think the level of desperation is a little bit different for them this year. You know, just as far as there's an understanding that, you know, there's a window and they have to win. And I mean, they're not a team that really looks to the future. They take a game by game, you know, week by week approach. But I think there is a true understanding that, you know, there could be some turnover if they don't get done what they need to get done this year.
Very recently, A.J. Brown, when he was asked about his time in Tennessee, he said, I know the people hate me there. He said, part of the fault was mine. So from what you know, how much of it was the organization fumbling the situation and how much of it was an A.J. Adding to the situation that led to his departure?
Yeah, you know, they always say there's two sides to every story. And it's interesting because I got firsthand both sides. You know, I talked to AJ. I called him that night, you know, just to tell him that I hated to see him go. You know what I mean? Yeah. But we talked about the contract, and he said all he wanted was 22 annually, and they only went up to 20, and it was full of incentives. It was 16, and then the rest was incentives. And that just wasn't going to get it for him, you know, especially after seeing Christian Kirk sign for 17 a year, you know. From the Titans' perspective, there was a point where after that Christian Kirk thing came out, you know, they had some back and forth. He submitted, Tory Dandy submitted an offer. I think it was in the 25 million range. The Titans said no. He submitted another one, 29 million with 80 million guaranteed. And the Titans were like, and then that's when communication was cut off. Rob Moore, his receiver coach, that communication was cut off. No, nothing was there. And then you had the trade request. And from then, you know, they just started to look at, okay, there's going to be a likelihood that he's going to be dealt, you know, and they had some guys, they had already liked Treylon Burks, even with AJ being there, you know, and they had some guys, Burks, Christian Watson, you know, he was another one they looked at, and they're like, well, if these guys are on the board, this is the deal that could happen. And it came out of nowhere, you know, to everyone not in AJ's camp and in the, you know, the Titans' immediate camp. And you saw Mike Vrabel, he had to get up and walk away. He had to walk that one off, you know, and I know that losing AJ hurt his feelings, you know, but it's a business.
Do you say, just to kind of stay on this theme for a second, Turron, you know him very well. It's one thing to be motivated. It's another thing to maybe go overboard with it where you're just trying to do too much. Do you think he'll stay within himself in this game?
Who, AJ?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Nah.
No what?
I know of games that AJ had where there were emotional things going on. Yeah. And he struggled a bit.
Okay.
You know, I'm not saying he's going to struggle here in this game, but I know in the past it's happened. But I think he's going to have a big game, honestly. Okay. You know, I don't think that he's going to, you know, control those emotions. I think those emotions are going to come out, and you're going to see it in his play.
Oh. Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. All right. Well, who wins? Who wins, Turron?
Oh,
put you on the spot.
That's a tough one, man. You're gonna have somebody try to push me off this bridge, man, with this prediction, but it's all good. Listen, I would say this: that the Titans haven't allowed a team to score more than 20 points in 8 consecutive weeks.
Yeah,
I think the Eagles do that. I think they win 23-20. That's the prediction there. I think the Eagles win 23-20.
Okay. One more.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead, man.
I know A.J. Brown is not a guy that you've seen turn the ball over, but he's had a case of the turnovers the past 2 weeks. Was it necessarily how he was feeling, or is that something that that you've seen in him before?
No, I haven't really seen him fumble the ball like that, especially in back-to-back weeks. I know the one last week, it was just that sometimes he's a guy where you look at the Ravens game a couple years ago, he caught a pass like 6 yards, about 8 yards out of the end zone. And, you know, Patrick Queen went to tackle him. He took him along. He said, oh, Marcus Peters, you paid your bus fare. Come on, you're going to take this ride too. And then a few other Ravens took the ride, and he carried them into the end zone. He's a guy that's not going to quit on a play. Sometimes you got to understand the journey's over and you got to go down. And I think, you know, that fumble last week, that's what that was. It was just fighting to get extra yards, and everybody's ripping at it, and he fumbled. But I don't think it's something that he'll do, you know, habitually. It isn't something that he does.
Hey, what's the best barbecue place in Nashville?
Oh, that's a good one. I like Edley's right now. Edley's barbecue is my favorite one. I go there, I get the burnt ends. When they have them, they always run out, you know, but otherwise I'm getting that brisket, man. You know, let's have it.
I like that brisket, bro.
That's right.
Hey, I'll see you on Friday, man. I'll see you on Friday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got to ask you, coming back to town, Turron, favorite cheesesteak place?
Oh, man, that's another good one. I like Max's, man. You know, Max's is good. Jim, I don't think Jim's is up and running.
It burned down, yeah. Hopefully they're going to be back up soon. I'm with you. I'm a big Jim.
I like, other than, you know, the corner poppy spots, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are always good, too.
Hey, Turron, make sure you make Barry pay, man. Whatever you do, make Barry pay.
I got my dog. Yeah.
You ain't never told me that.
Yeah.
You got the company. You had the company
Shoot,
credit card back
I'm
then.
trying to come get some of that D gun barbecue. That's what I want.
Good
Me
luck
too.
with that, Turron.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Good luck
good boy.
penetrating that fortress. That is going to be a challenge.
Give me
man.
some off that green egg.
Exactly.
There you
right.
go. There you go.
Exactly right.
Oh.
Turron, hey,
Yes,
man,
sir.
thanks for a couple minutes. Appreciate the effort with the shot.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
telling you, it
Yeah,
almost
for
looks
sure.
fake. It's so good, man. Awesome shot. And we appreciate your
problem.
time, man. Keep up the good work. Yeah.
Yes, sir. You guys got it, man.
All right. That's
All right,
Turron
bro.
Davenport. Great dude, man. Follow him on Twitter at @TDavenport_NFL. Of course, ESPN.com. He is the ESPN NFL Nation reporter covering the Titans. Always everything he does with the utmost effort. His writing, his stand-ups, if he's doing something with us. I mean, he's a pro's pro, man.
Absolutely, no question about it.
Interesting insight there on the Titans too. It's gonna be a good game. This is gonna be a fun physical game.
Fight it out. This is gonna be the games that we dream about, man. Like there's gonna be a lot of ebb and flow in this game, a lot of physical football. These are the games I love. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna roll my sleeves up and just go out there. That's exactly what this game. This will equate to back when I played the game.
Yes.
When you got Ricky Waters going against Emmitt Smith. You know, that's the type of game that we're gonna have, man. And I can't wait, bro.
This is kind of you put brass knuckles under your taped up hands. Yeah. You put that metal piece in your elbow pad. You do whatever you got to do.
Even the coaches.
Yeah.
Even the coaches. Sirianni's a scrappy dude. Now you got Vrabel. I hated Vrabel. I hated playing against Vrabel.
Coaches carrying blades.
Yeah. You got, blades in his teeth, what I'm saying? Take out.
Yeah, man. The thing that caught my eye was when Turron said they haven't given up more than 20 points in 8 consecutive games. Yeah. That is going to be interesting.
That's an eye-opener. And also just how much the Eagles use that blueprint from the Bengals and what teams have been doing lately against Derrick Henry, too.
It's the copycat league. It's a copycat league,
100%.
100%. You best believe that, just like you said, all those guys were watching film on how they've been knocking balls out and creating turnovers from more so knocking balls out than anything. You best believe that they're working on that right now. They're Peanut Tillman everything right now.
Yep.
Barrett, if you were the Eagles, would you go exclusive 5-man front against them?
Yes.
But we know they're not going to do it. And that's why I ask you that. Well, because
you can have variations with it though, Derek. And this is what pisses me off, because you can have a 5-man front that's a past 5-man front also.
Right.
Like just like you have them big hogs up front, you could put in Joseph, Sue, and Davis, but you can also put in Brandon Graham right there, Fletcher Cox at the nose, and put what's his name? Sweat right there at the 3 technique. Now you got guys that can pass rush with the guys on the outside being, whoever you're gonna put, with man, I'll just say Hassan Reddick. I'm not even gonna go with the other guy. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Until he does something, he'll be a name we're not even gonna say, bro.
Right.
But you could. That's a pass.
Until he does something.
Right. That's a pass rushing defense right there. But it's just a 5-man front. Can you imagine having games running stunts from that 3-man, those 3 guys in the middle with Fletcher Cox looping around, or you got BG, penetrating and somebody going around him like that? They can do. You can just like you can stop the run with that. Yeah, you can also pass rush with it. And a lot of the times, that's what we saw what teams did when I was playing there. Mm-hmm. You had that 3-man front, because what it does to your offensive line, it makes you go man on man. You can't slide the line now.
Right.
So when I say that you can't slide the line, usually you could just go, all right, we're gonna slide the line this way. But if you got guys out there that can rush the passer, and you got Josh Sweat on one side, BG, Fletcher Cox in the middle, but then on the outside, rushing the passer, you got guys like Hassan Reddick on one side, and damn, man. I'll say it. Robert Quinn. Okay, I'll say it.
Well, look, he's due. Let's put it that way. He's due.
Who'd you say?
I know, man. He ain't showed up, so I'm hard pressed. But you can't slide. You can't slide that line.
I'm on record. He gets a sack this week.
Oh, there we go.
Robert Quinn gets a sack. Mark it down.
This week?
Yep. 12:36 on Thursday. I called it.
Well, but see, look, you have to man up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, man up means it's going to be one-on-one blocking with all the offensive linemen. Now you're gonna tell me all 5 guys can block all 5 of our guys one-on-one? No, there's no way that a center can snap and block Fletcher Cox one-on-one. There's no way on God's green earth he can do that because he has to head his head downward, snap it, and get both hands up to block Fletcher Cox. It's just not happening. It's not. Or a guy blocking, Brandon Graham at a 3 technique. What those dudes do, man, is they're athletes. So when you have a defensive end playing 3 technique, he's gonna make that offensive guard move his feet. Right. So he's got to set almost like a tackle, and he's not used to setting in all that space right there. So it's easier to rush a guy that you make him move their feet, a guard who's not necessarily the better athlete. To put it like this, they're not the better athletes of the offensive line. You usually put the better athletes at the tackle position because they have a lot of space to block. But when you make these guards block the same space also, it's really tough. And plus you can't help the center either. That's a hard front to block, man. Hard.
Bear, what you just said, you said so eloquently and so decisively. And I'm with you 100%. I know, and as I'm sitting here listening to you talk, every word coming out of your mouth, I'm saying, you know what Bear is saying is true, and it sounds so simple. He ain't doing it. And then I look at the chat, and Dan Cilio with a five-man front. You have one less do the secondary. JG will never do that. And I'm saying he read my mind because Jonathan Gannon is not going to do it.
So to you and Big Seals, I was going, wah, 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 wah.
No, I'm listening to everything you say, and what your answer, what the answer you gave when I asked you the question is exactly what I expected to hear from you. But as you're talking, I'm saying it makes so much sense. Jack Gannon ain't doing that. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen that way. Bruh, did he watch what Cincinnati just did? He's not going to do what Cincinnati just did. Cincinnati had like 12 men in the box. Had 12 men in the box trying to stop Derrick Henry.
So we got better DBs than they do.
Yeah. Huh? Yes.
Guys, we got better DBs than they do. Yes. Our guys can go out there and cover those guys man on man.
It's not like you cover the Bengals receivers. Yes. It's not like you cover the Bengals receivers.
Yeah.
I got you. All right. Good segment there.
Torch that bandwagon.
Hey, points, baby. It's all about the points, D-Gun. You hater. All right, so we will come back. We'll continue the Eagles discussion. There's been some debate. The Eagles passing game has fallen off of late, and we'll dive into that when we come back. We'll get a little bit more into that. We'll talk about some of the defense, and we're going to look at the NFC playoff picture in a little bit. A little later in our NFL segment, we'll do our NFC power rankings. 5 teams that are on the outside looking in right now that could sneak into the playoffs, and we'll also get into the top 5 running backs since they will be taking on Derrick Henry as well.
That was pretty hard. No, that was pretty hard, man.
I know.
The running backs
down to 5.
It was not easy. Yeah.
Now what you mean the running backs?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now we'll preface it by saying this: when I give my 5 running backs, I'm not basing it on the statistics that we look at right now. For me, it's my style of runners. Okay, I'm basing it on the 5 runners I like in the game today.
All right. Good. Okay. That's what it's all about. Yeah,
all
it's it's subjective, man. It's your taste, your preference. All right, we'll do that when we get back. Derek, Barrett, Rob, we are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because you know how difficult it can be to find the right person to trust with your hard-earned work. And I found that right person, and I want you to find the right person as well. And that's Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. Again, whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, if you have a small business and you're trying to set up your employee benefits, these are all the things that he can help you with. I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. I also will reach out to him if I'm not understanding something, or if I've seen something that I think may be a good direction to go. And he is a great sounding board. He's great setting you up and taking you into the right direction for whatever you need. 610-996-4751. That's how you reach him. Again, 610-996-4751. You could email him as well. Murray, Murray.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@principal.com.